Canterbury High Street has many charity shops, but only a few vintage fashion shops. Funky Monk's owner Peter believes vintage has become popular as previous eras are always coming back into fashion, and it is a good way to create a more individual look. 20-year-old Olivia buys the majority of her vintage fashion in charity shops because she says that vintage stores are overpriced.
I think they're really ridiculously expensive. The only reason why they're so expensive is just because of the word vintage. So everyone's just like, oh god, I want it, just because it's got the word vintage. And after you look in there and you go into charity shops, you see stuff that are exactly the same in the vintage shops for more than half the price.
Cancer research manager Annette McJanet says that charity shops rarely get many vintage clothing donations, and from her own experience believes shops like Funky Monk's are better for finding good quality, unique clothing.
In the vintage shops, they have the best because they source their stock. So they get the best selection, a bit like fruit. The best apples, priced higher than the cheaper apples. So you get what you pay for. So I think the prices in the vintage shops compared to the charity shops, for me it's worth it. Because what I could buy in a vintage shop, you couldn't always get in a charity shop, just very, very rarely.
Funky Monks price their clothing according to a combination of condition, age, availability and demand. But where do you find your best vintage fashion?